Stardate 96781.49. You are listening to Star Trek Discovery Pod. My name's Mike Moody. With me is
Mariah Gossett.
And
Clyde Haynes.
Grant Davis has the space flu tonight, so he's not joining us. Yes, poor Grant Davis. Baby Grant Davis is his new name. But we're here to talk about If Memory Serves, Season 2, Episode 8 of Star Trek Discovery, written by Jay Beadle and Dan Dworkin, directed by TJ Scott. Holy shit, this episode was fucking awesome. I really like this episode. We have a Spock. We're going to get into it pretty deep, I think. And I really don't know what you guys think of the episode yet. I have some issues with it, but we'll get into it. But first, I want to remind everyone to visit us at StarTrekPod.com. You can find links to all of our social media handles there. You can find our entire back catalog. We've covered the entire first season of Discovery. We covered all the short treks, and you can also help us out at patreon.com/StarTrekPod. You want to help out the podcast, you can throw a few bucks at us. If you throw $2 an episode, you'll be invited to our private Slack community where we talk about Star Trek all the damn time. And a shout out to the Star Trek Pod Slackers who have really been, the discussion's been really going the past few days leading up to this episode, if memory serves. So join us there. Join us on the Slack. And just visit StarTrekPod.com. You can find us there all the time. So let's dive into this episode, guys. Season 2, Episode 8. Who wants to give me their hot take?
Hot take.
Grant would be so
felt
pleased.
like it was missing.
Me too. I was actually going to do it, but I was like,
take.
yeah, let's all do it. Okay, Mariah did it. You did it.
Mike's your turn.
I'm going to try and do it like Grant. Hot takes!
Pretty close.
Not bad, right?
That's good.
I do a pretty good Grant Davis. Hey, guys! I'm Grant! What's a Star Trek?
Oh.
I love you, Grant. Okay, who's talking first? If memory serves, hot take.
You know, the minute that you said you love this episode, I was
did.
like, here we go
did you.
again.
Saw that face.
Yeah.
So did you. What?
I liked the episode.
What?
I liked it.
What?
I didn't love it, and I don't know why. I'm actually really excited about next week's episode.
Yes.
Like, that looks like, okay, I'm going to love that one. But this one, I thought was good. I'll tell you what. So I'll sum it up like this. I'm really liking Pike. Like, I'm feeling Pike.
You have a pulse, sir.
Yeah, I mean, I told you, like, I was expecting a lot, and he's
Seen
grown.
that jawline? Hello.
I'm what I mean is I'm looking for that certain Captain-esque quality, and I'm seeing it.
For sure.
And so I'm loving Pike and how he moves and the way he deals with the crew. I'm kind of over Tyler. Like, I'm finding him really annoying right now. And then as far as Spock goes, I was watching him and thinking, all right, how am I going to feel about this? And I kind of thought he was actually pretty cool. And I'm sure we'll dive into why, but I thought, I was like, wow, this is kind of a cool Spock. It still doesn't feel like the Spock we know. This feels more like a CW version of Spock. Like, if I'm honest, like, if you've ever seen, like, if you ever watched the original 90210,
Yeah.
and then you peeked in and took a look at that CW version of 90210.
Oh, yeah.
That's kind of what I'm feeling. Like, it's like a sexier Spock, and it's like a cooler Spock.
I have a theory on why every scene this entire episode was full of sexual tension.
It was.
Because I was like, are we about to get a Tyler Pike romance? Like, that is somewhere in my notes. Like, there's just so many, like, Culber Tyler romance question mark.
I wrote the same
and
thing.
like all these things. So director TJ Scott has done a bunch of Orphan Black, Xena Warrior Princess. I think he is just down to give us all of the sexual innuendos and tension and building these things between characters with these big wide shots.
Feeding the /fic fire.
Oh my God. So many stills. I was like, fanfic.
I mean,
fanfic.
if Vena's skirt got any shorter, we were going to have, it was going to be right there. It was going to be Xena.
Yeah.
It was going to be Xena right there.
I'm not complaining.
Me neither. I mean, it was true to the original series, Vina. I'll say that.
That was not a criticism. It's an observation.
Observation. All right. Mariah, hot take.
So I had, I really enjoyed this episode. There's elements of it that I really loved. There were pieces of it to me that felt like the continuation of some of the feelings that I had last week, and that we're still in this sort of transitional state. But I'm so excited because we're on, on Thanos. And Talos, sorry.
Thanos.
Wrong universe.
That was a good mistake.
We're going to snap you out of existence.
So anyway, I was like, there's so many elements that made me excited, that made me feel some like flashbacks to older seasons of the show. But then there was pieces of the writing that felt a little clunky.
Mm-hmm. Which is par for the course for Discovery. A lot of it is like, whoa, this is really exciting and looks amazing. Oh, the writing's clunky here, and they're hand-waving stuff, and they're really trying to make everything match thematically, but it feels like they're trying.
Yeah.
But still, I have my complaints about this episode, and I have my questions, and if I stop to think about what happened in this episode, a lot of it starts to fall the fuck apart.
I thought you loved this episode.
But I thoroughly enjoyed it. I had a blast with this episode. I was emotionally compelled, which is really a sticking point for me. Like Star Trek, grab my heart, make me feel something. And this episode did make me feel something. I enjoyed Ethan Peck. I thought he was a good Spock. We finally got to hear him speak. He's a little CW-y, I'll give you that. But even though he was not the Spock that we know, it makes sense. I mean, he's a younger Spock, whatever. But I thought this episode did a great and a fun job of melding the classic Trek, style with the modern Trek style. That opening, the previously on.
So good.
Oh man, that was like a wet dream. That was so great.
I wouldn't go that far.
It was a wet dream. I had a bone. Sorry.
Yeah,
apologies.
I'm not gonna co-sign that one, but I thought it was artistically done and really creative and authentically and genuinely respectful of the other series. I think the hardest thing with this kind of reimagination of Star Trek is it's been so long since we've had the Star Trek series, and technology has changed and art has changed and the visual style has all changed. So to come in and it not be Star Wars-y where it's all CGI and you've got something that feels like Trek but is more modern, I thought that was a great homage to like, hey, we're not trying to just redo this. We want to bring that back. And I love it when they link up. Like when they go, hey, we're not trying to just recreate the wheel here, but we're going to link to the past. And so I was actually really impressed with the opening.
What that previously on communicated to me was that the makers of this show have such a fondness for some of these characters, for characters like Pike, for characters like Spock. And they genuinely have an emotional attachment to those characters and their stories, and they want to flesh them out more. We want to do more with these characters. We want to try to make them more three-dimensional, especially in the case of Pike, which is exactly what they're doing. We haven't seen that they're necessarily doing that with Spock, even though they're trying, but we've only seen him speak on screen for a total of 20, 30 minutes.
Right.
So, I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. But there's really good intention. Not only are they honoring the original series, they're stitching it together with the new series in a pretty elegant way.
So here's a question that I have for you, though. We basically talked about the background last week, right? Sitting here with each other, we kind of talked about the series and
the cage and the menagerie.
Exactly. Like so we were well versed in it. So the minute it showed up on screen, you kind of knew what you were seeing. Mm-hmm. If you're brand new, did you know what you were getting into?
This is where I miss
Grant.
Our friend Grant Davis, who, if you're listening to us for the first time, our fourth chair here, Grant Davis, who's not here tonight, is very new to Star Trek, and he loves Discovery. So I was interested in hearing his take. We'll get his take next week on this episode. But yeah, do we think new Trekkers understood what was going on here, or were they emotionally compelled?
I don't know. I mean, I think the Previously On gave probably older fans of the series, like, maybe some of the space and some of the, I don't know, like fanfare that we needed to be more connected to this particular episode. But I think they also did a good job, though, of like, if you know nothing about the Previously On, you still could follow the plot line of this episode.
I think so.
But I also think they made some stylistic choices in the way that it was shot, and some of the matching that they did really played well to if you are someone who's been following this series for much, much longer, back to the original series, like with the wider shots and
Yes.
and seeing more of the ship and seeing more of the planet, and like that nice wide shot when they got down onto the onto the alien planet, and like
Yes.
just there's just so many things where I was like, oh yes, this, yes.
Like
yes,
the
yes.
show has already impressed us so many times with its art direction, with its visual aesthetic, but I was even further impressed with this episode. All those beautiful wide shots and the way it harkened back to those original episodes with they would do these wide shots on planets with these matte paintings, and now we have more modern versions of that, but staying true to that spirit, and it was so beautiful.
Yeah, props to the art direction and art department for this episode and the OG series. That was some of the things that I love the most about the original series is the costumes and the art department and the makeup and everything that they accomplished in the time that they were.
Yeah, it looked like nothing else when it came out back in the 60s.
Yeah, I also thought they did a really good job of kind of matching the pace, right?
For sure.
Because the pace on the original series was much slower.
But it was assured.
Yeah.
It was slow and assured, and that's how this episode felt. It felt like, even though we're rolling the dice here.
It's also how it ended.
Yes, we're rolling the dice.
Get there, sorry.
We're rolling the dice here, but we're confident in what we're doing. I felt the confidence in this episode.
Yeah, and like when Burnham's walking around Talos IV, like it was kind of deliberate, like we've got time to tell this story. And so she's going to look around. Now, I kept thinking, come on now, don't touch strange plants on strange planets. That is how you lose an arm.
Well, that was definitely a callback to the cage. Because that's exactly what Spock does.
Right.
They have the singing plants, and Spock touches one, and it stops singing, and he smiles. And they had that shot of him smiling from the original series right up front, which a bunch of fans are like, the cage is bullshit because Spock doesn't smile, and it's been hard for people to reconcile that because obviously the creators of the show didn't have Spock's character down flat in that first episode. But here they had the confidence to put that up front. Hey, Spock smiles sometimes, and we're going to use that. That was a pretty bold move.
And I loved, and I know we're going to get there, but I love Giorgio's reference to, her dealing with the Talosians.
Yeah, in the mirror you.
Yeah, and wiping them and all those singing plants off the face of the planet.
Yeah, that was great.
I thought that was a great kind of touchstone.
Man, George was so funny.
And when you talk about the art direction, that scene with Saru and Pike walking through Discovery, and it gets really, really wide, literally stopped me in my tracks.
Yeah.
Like, I was like, whoa, what's happening? This is like, I was just focused. And I think there's something different about this episode when you look at how it just visually communicates.
Yes. This was really great visual storytelling, even though there was a lot of like explaining going on, a lot of just here's what we're doing, here's where we're going. What is that called?
Exposition.
Exposition.
Exposition, not
Yeah,
expose.
exposition, yeah.
It's going to be a long night, guys.
Yeah. We're all tired. We all have been working very hard. But I'm on vacation starting tomorrow. Yay. All right. So
Thanks for that. Like,
yeah.
Are you on vacation, Mariah?
I am not.
Neither am I.
I have like 12 more hours of work to do tonight.
Yeah.
Guys, I'm on
with you.
vacation. Vacate. All right. So let's try to run through this episode chronologically and fail like we do. All right. So the opening, after the, I have in my notes that the Previously On was some serious nerd boner shit. So.
Oh, that music. I just want that theme song forever.
Yeah. Oh, so great.
So good.
And the opening felt epic. It was just. Okay, so we get Pike, and Michael's separated. She's out with Spock, and they're going to Talos IV. But you have Pike kind of rooting for Michael when he's talking to Section 31. And I found it interesting that the Starfleet big bosses are speaking directly to Section 31 during that hologram sequence. So you had pretty much a representative from most of the major races who are all Starfleet bosses talking to Section 31 about Spock. So everyone is gunning for Spock. And this is this kind of sets up where we end up at the end where Discovery is now a rogue ship, because not only is Section 31 after Spock and after them now, but the whole Federation or all of Starfleet is. So I thought that was pretty interesting.
And I thought it was also interesting that Pike just doesn't know a bunch of stuff. Right.
But he assumes, like, I know they're watching me. I know, we got to throw him off the scent here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but it's clear at first he didn't even know that Burnham had Spock, right? Like he was under the impression that Burnham was looking for Spock.
Yeah.
And it's like there's so many these small points that he doesn't know. He doesn't know about Tyler and Burnham's relationship, or that Tyler and Vok are the same person. There's so many of these touch points.
That's true.
That he just doesn't know.
Yeah.
And yet he's still acting as the perfect Starfleet captain, even though it feels like Starfleet doesn't understand that he is the archetype of the captain and the Federation to come in the future.
I liked that. Yes, to that point, Pike is like, "Hey Tyler,
Feelings?
did you burn Burnham, bro? Did you
Did
you bone Burnham?
or burn Burnham?
Yeah.
Much.
Did you burn Boneham? The other way around.
I got it.
Yeah.
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 I just wrote down, go challenge that toxic masculinity. Like,
Yeah. Tell me.
have some feelings.
I want to hear your feelings, Mariah, about our little subplot with Tyler and Pike and their kind of
Their little
relationship,
tit-to-tats
their little
all the
relationship
times.
that's kind of burgeoning here.
Yeah, I enjoy them as foils a little bit more in this episode. I think they're trying to make me like Tyler again, because I guess he has to stick around. So, I appreciate that they're trying to, I think, maneuver his character in a different direction besides just being this like romantic interest, which can sometimes be a hard shift with a character who that was their primary, sort of mode within the season. All of season one was kind of to be this romance, and then, to have all these complicated feelings anyway. So I'm enjoying their back and forth a little bit, although I enjoyed him in smaller bursts. I also think, though, his interactions with Culber are far more interesting.
Yes.
That's the only time that I didn't go, oh, I'm not feeling him.
Right. Like, I'm like, oh, this plot line makes sense to me, and that this is unfinished business.
Yeah, I guess I'm struggling with Tyler being this, I don't know, emissary or ambassador or plant or mole for Section 31 on Discovery. Like, it might make sense on any other ship, but I'm looking at him on Discovery and going, Tyler, at the end of the day, your loyalty is to this crew, right? Like, I'm not buying this, that you're going to betray them. And so
I'm a misfit, and they're all misfits too.
right. And so I'm just like, okay, so you're coming in here like, well, you better do this. And I'm like, I don't know if it's not the acting isn't that strong, but every time he comes up to the side of Pike's chair, I'm just like, shut up.
It's all just manufactured conflict.
Yes.
With him. Yeah.
Now the Culber and Tyler thing, I was completely bought in, and I was thinking, well done, like really well done.
Well, because not only is there history there, but they did the work in this episode to get to that moment with Culber. Just it physically manifesting in himself throughout the entire episode that I had no closure. I have no closure, and I have this tension in me that I need to get out. And there's the guy who killed me. I'm just going to unleash it on him.
Well, also we talk about the visual storytelling when in that scene when we first see kind of Stamets and Culber walking to their room, their quarters, and Tyler's at the end of the hall about to walk into his quarters. We see Culber kind of standing and looking, and it's this long shot, and then also in an instant, he's much closer to that door. I mean, it just that gap just vanishes without walking and seeing, oh, Culber walks to the door. Like there was something there that that you got that he was really upset, and you kind of knew. I'm sure we all wrote down in our notes when you saw that he's going to kill him. Like, he's going after him. This is not going to be, oh, yeah.
But there was so much subtext there when he's looking at him, and the fact that he, the next shot is him closer to him, and then throughout the episode they get closer and closer to each other till finally they come to blows. That was just such good, thematic storytelling, because even though they come to blows in that scene, when they do that was just so viscerally intense and ended up being so futile, because it just kind of stops and doles out at the end. But I love the button on the scene where you realize the show is trying to tell you, oh, they're at the same point here. They're both lost. They're both having a huge identity crisis. Both of these characters, they're the same, even though they're, so opposed in this scene. That was just some nice thematic storytelling.
Which is why I wrote down and was thinking, well, are they going to have some type of relationship? And I thought, well, Vok/Tyler is still in love with Burnham.
Totally.
And so maybe it's this friendship that they use kind of in the future to help them figure out who this new identity is. But I thought that was really interesting. Like, that was one of the most compelling moments.
Oh, they make Ash the love triangle between Ash, Culber, and Stamets.
Sounds great.
No,
I'm out.
Why?
I mean, visually, yes, but storytelling-wise,
Sorry,
no,
that was
thank
a
you.
deep personal.
It's okay.
Clyde, I thought you wrote this last week.
No. Mariah clearly is still envisioning that in her head, so I'm just gonna give her a beat.
Girl has dreams.
No, I just think it would be forced. That would be my problem
Yes,
with
it
it.
would.
It would feel forced.
I think the friendship line is the most obvious in a way. I was like, or they're both just going to kill each other because they don't want to be around anymore.
If they're friends, then it's also going to drive Stamets absolutely insane.
Well, I just want to give another shout out to Wilson Cruz, like I like to do. I thought he was fucking amazing in this episode, because there isn't a lot on the page in terms of what he's going through, but he conveys his identity crisis so well here. Just in the way he moves and the way in his facial tics, like, the guy's doing a great job of that, of kind of like, Mariah, you were talking last week about how it would have been great to see our introduction to Spock be Ethan Peck emoting instead of
talking,
babbling,
yes.
It just emoting quietly. And that's what our boy Wilson Cruz was doing here very well.
Well, I think also when you think about what Wilson Cruz has done, is he's had to play two different characters, right? So if you think about the first season, his character was completely different. The tone, the note. He was this counselor, even though that wasn't his role.
He was so chill.
But he was a voice of reason.
He was the voice of reason and balance to the crew, right? Like, if you needed someone to kind of talk you off the ledge, that's who did it, right? He was the, I don't want to say heart and soul, but he was the Jiminy Cricket, the conscience of the crew.
Yeah.
And now he's playing a very different character who's dealing with some turmoil, who's unsure of who he is, and who's, by his love interest is expected to be something that he's not. And he's showing so much. I'm really impressed.
So we got to Talos IV, guys. Mm-hmm. So I thought I was a little worried that the show might use the Talosians so irresponsibly, because it's kind of like you can do anything with them.
Right.
They're illusionists. They have these psychogenic abilities. They can create anything out of thin air. They can project their illusions into deep space. So what's going to happen? What are we going to be in a Mr. Robot situation for the rest of the season where we don't know what's real? Mm-hmm. But that wasn't the case. I thought they used them to tell this story pretty effectively, because we land on Talos IV and we kind of get a little wrap up of who the Talosians are, and we get some great callbacks again to the original series. And the Talosians' projection abilities are used to great effect to tell the story. They reach out to Pike in an interesting way. Mm-hmm. They get Burnham and Spock to communicate with Pike using their abilities in an interesting way that serve the story. And they finally through the device of the Talosians' powers, we finally get the reveal of the emotional rift between Burnham and Spock and why they have that rift.
Which was my one biggest disappointment of
Yeah.
this whole episode.
I'm with you.
I thought there was a germ of a good idea there, but it didn't really, I don't know.
I needed
Didn't
one
germinate.
more thing. Like, I am a big sister with a little brother, and we said terrible things to each other
That's
growing
what I'm
up.
saying.
And I'm like, we still talk to each other,
Yeah.
But
I think being a Star Trek fan, I know that what she said to him, like that goes to the core of that character, doesn't it? So it makes some sense to me.
Yeah, but get lost because you're a half breed. Well, you deserve a punch in the face for that.
It wasn't just that. And maybe I'm building it up more or putting more there than is really there. But I felt it was more like when Spock was a kid, he understood that he is half human and half Vulcan. And when Burnham came along, that was an opportunity for him to explore his human side, which it was difficult for him to do since he's on Vulcan, right? And so he was trying to develop that with her. And then when she shunned them, that was a blow to his development.
But isn't that kind of selfish? And then she's also like, I'm just trying to save your family, so I'm going to say these awful things to you. I think they both said some like crappy things, but they're also kids.
That was my point. Like,
but they're very smart kids.
They're smart
Very
kids,
smart
but
very
kids.
advanced.
Yes.
you can't
AP.
look at a teenager and go, well, it's your responsibility to develop me in this way.
Right.
Right? Like to put that onus and go, now I hate you because you had your own desires and your own needs.
Like, hey,
Yeah.
hormone-filled teenager who has a lot of emotions, who lost her family and has a lot of things going on her own plate. Be responsible for my emotional
and
well-being.
Forced to relax her hair for no reason. Yeah.
And not to mention that she had just had this traumatic event, right, where these extremists try to kill her and this family that she's come to love. Now, in any other circumstance, that alone would cause her to seek serious counseling. And yet here she is, and so she decides to run away, and she says some hurtful things, and Spock's and her are, never going to speak again. The payoff just wasn't there for me.
I was like hoping it was going to be like this was the first thing, and then we were going to see something else, or maybe he was just like, that wasn't it. That was just like what she chose to show them in this exchange, but it wasn't actually the thing. And so
I feel you.
I don't know. I was just like, they've been building it up and maybe that's just their mistake that they've been building this up for so long to be this big moment. And I was just like, I was more emotionally invested when I was seeing them as adults doing the dialogue in this like weird memory scape. And to me, that moment on that planet probably would have been for me more the impactful thing. I'm not going to talk to you for the rest of however many years because now we've rekindled this issue between us and neither one of us is willing to apologize.
Well, and I also think that when you look at her strong reluctance to not talk about this.
Right. Like, she couldn't have just been like, well, I was a kid and I said some really messed up stuff.
Right. But she won't tell anybody. She won't bring it up.
Not with her mom.
Right.
It
It's my
comes off
fault.
a little overly self-serious.
And then the Talosians are like, we want to review this. And she's like, no. Like, wait, your brother's about to die and you just said no? And then what we get is a fight between two kids who said some
Right.
hurtful
I was
things to
expecting
each other?
her to be like over his bed with a knife, like going for it.
Yeah,
or
yeah.
like
With some bullies picking on him at school, like a whole series of things.
Right.
But we got one argument between two kids.
Right.
Yeah, I needed a little bit more.
Okay, you're convincing me here. Yeah, because I was just enjoying this so much that I was willing to kind of just give that a pass. But yeah, I can see what you're saying.
Yeah. I'm just like, I've told my brother he was an embarrassment to my life before as a child. Like, yes, I was a terrible human being as a 13-year-old girl. Like, all 13-year-old girls are terrible.
Yes.
Maybe it's my failing. I have half siblings that I didn't really grow up with, and we're all very, very cordial to each other.
You gotta have some like.
I've got
sibling
cousins who we're all like within like 6 months of each other, so we're really close. The things we've said to each other, disturbing.
Right.
I mean, like if you're listening, and you're not, but if you are,
I know it's like this is gonna turn into like a big family therapy.
yeah, I'm just gonna say I'm sorry. I'm sorry for the stuff I said.
I know
I'm sorry for the things I did.
My mom listens to this, so I'm sorry, Mom. You just had to hear me say that I told Max that he was an embarrassment when I was 13. Leave me alone.
Shutting down personal
All right,
grievances
we're
here.
done.
All right, very good. So let's talk about the Red Angel.
Are we ready for Mariah's Red Angel Theory Corner?
Well, I know you have one.
I got one too this week.
Okay, good. Because
Mine's a bad one, but I got
I
one.
never have theories. But did we get confirmation here that the Red Angel is a human? Because Spock sensed the pain in the mind and like, okay, this person in the suit who's this Red Angel is so fucked up when I melded with them that only humans are this fucked up. So this is a human. It's pretty much what he said. So do we think it's a human?
I think it's a human.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I rolled that way.
Yeah,
All right.
yeah.
Let's do rock, paper, scissors with both of you, and whoever wins gets to go with their theory first.
Before we get to theories,
Rock, paper, scissors, damn it.
Before we get there, I will one nit I'd like to pick.
Do it.
Is my pet peeve is when different people, different storylines have pieces of the puzzle and they miss or waste opportunities to fill in those gaps, right? Mm-hmm. So you've got this Discovery crew who has discovered that the Red Angel, it's a mechanized suit. Mm-hmm. And now you've got Spock and Burnham who are like, it's told me the future and it's a human. Hey, you've got this Talosian bridge here. Give that information to each other, and so that you can start working on the problem separately. But no,
Oh, that's work for another episode, friend. We had memories to walk through here.
in this universe, Klingons can come out of nowhere and start blasting people. So you just don't know how much time you're gonna get.
Right.
That's all I'm saying.
Oh shit! Speaking of that, with I love the way that Saru let the fight play out between Culber and he's like, they just need to work this shit out, and then.
Like,
Later on,
there's no protocol.
yeah, there is no protocol for a doctor who came back from the dead from a mushroom tier fighting the fake Klingon who killed him or the secret Klingon who killed him. And Pike's like, yeah, good point, bro.
And then he says, "But do not let this happen again." And I'm like,
And he returns to the badass Captain.
yeah, and I'm going, there we go. This is the archetype of the captain that we've known. And I was like, I thought that was a great moment.
Red Angel theories, guys, you have them. Who's
All right.
going first?
Mariah, go ahead. Because yours is going to be better. Well, so maybe I should go first because hers is going to be better than mine.
Go for it.
All right, because I'm not going to follow that up.
Okay. Garbage Red Angel theory first. Go.
It's Burnham.
That's mine.
Oh, nice. Very good.
Yes. So I went through this whole thing so shout out to my partner Jordan because we were talking about this and we were saying how these writers seem to like to add in these like layers of some religion. And we were trying to figure out, like each of these sort of locations they visited have had something to contribute to Discovery to sort of figure this puzzle out, right? And so we're like, well, what did New Eden have to give us? I haven't really thought about it. And we're like, well, it has to be this religion aspect, I guess. And so we're like, well, why is this character named Michael? And so we're going to get into Michael, the Archangel Michael.
Archangel.
And then it's a humanoid. And we're like, well, maybe this is why, the way this is going to make sense in the timeline, why Spock never talks about his sister is because it ends up becoming this ethereal person that's outside of that.
At the end of the season, that would make some emotional sense where, because Spock really seems to trust this Red Angel, and it would make some emotional sense where at the end they resolve their conflicts because she was helping him and the galaxy apparently all along. But do you think if that's her and she becomes this time-traveling Sam Beckett character, are we not going to have a Michael Burnham in season 3?
Well, that's what I was trying to figure out. So I need to do some digging to figure out if if she's gotten an offer for another show. I'll
There's another Walking Dead spinoff happening.
know.
They're going to pull it back in there.
There is no way they let Sonequa Martin Green leave this show. She leaves the show, CBS is going to have a hard time holding on to customers.
Yeah, I've just been like, maybe they wrote this season not thinking they were going to get a season 3, and so this was like, so now they're going to have to scramble these last couple episodes to bring her back.
We only have 6 more episodes, and the renewal did come late in the game, pretty much.
I mean, but it could just be that her becoming the Red Angel happens much later.
Yeah.
Right.
And we're just going to keep going knowing that at some point.
Right.
And that was my only argument back to my partner Jordan I was like, I don't think they're going to get rid of her because she's such a huge part of this show. And then I was like, maybe if this was like being advertised as the last season, I would be down with this theory. Mm-hmm. So that's why I was like, I think I'm going to keep going back to my new pre-Borg person on the ship.
Yeah, Arium. I was thinking that too. That was the backup, was that it could be Arium, because I get a feeling that we're going to lose Arium.
Yeah.
There's a chance that when we get to season 3, Arium's not going to be there.
Right.
Okay. Why do you think the Angels burn him, Clyde?
I don't have an explanation as lovely as Mariah's. Mine is just, first, it's gut. But
they also showed her face on its face in the weird memory thing.
And it was
but my mind to your mind, and it was her.
Yeah, but also she was watching the memory, so yeah.
And when he said lonely, I honestly can't think of anybody more lonely than Burnham.
Tyler.
And,
I got no friends.
Tyler.
First of all,
Tyler with boobs. I don't know.
First of all, I don't think Tyler's lonely.
No?
I don't. I think that first of all, he was hanging out with L'Rell when they were when he was a Klingon.
Like there's some rando on the Discovery.
I mean, he could. Yeah. I mean, I hate to bring up the fact that I've read some of the books, but in some of the books, hooking up randomly happens all the time. Now, a bunch of our listeners are going to go out and read the books. But so, I mean, it wouldn't surprise me at all. So, you know.
Okay, so Arium is obviously the one sabotaging the ship, so they can't, get to where they need to go. She breaks the spore drive. When they were going to use the spore drive, I was like, okay, we really are just forgetting that we're
not supposed to.
Yeah,
we're blowing up the mushroom world by doing this. Okay,
I thought the whole plan was to never use a spore drive again, and yet here we go again, thinking we're going to use it.
Yeah, it was weird. So
look, I'll say this: use it, don't use it. Commit to a decision.
Mm-hmm. I think they are committing. Well, the show is committing to not using it, but Discovery is just like, the characters have not committed yet to using or not using.
Use it. Just saying, use it.
Fuck the mushroom people.
If this was real, I'd be like, no, don't use it. But come on, when they first of all, can we just all agree that the words "Black Alert" is like super cool?
Sure.
And when you see the ship flipping...
Yeah.
So I'm just saying.
It's a cool effect.
It's a cool effect. So for us, the viewer, I say use it.
So I really liked Pike's story here with Vina, our character.
I was like so sad.
Who's on Talos. It was sad, but it did a couple things here. It gave Pike an emotional reason or emotional. He was compelled emotionally to go to Talos because of reconnecting with Vina. Because I recently watched the Menagerie, and the Menagerie ends with, of course, Pike is in he's incapacitated. He's in the wheelchair, and it ends with kind of a happy ending with him. Spock takes him back to Talos IV, and he ends up with Vina, and that's the only way that they could really be together and walk around and talk and feel like healthy individuals, and they live out their life together, and it's happy, right? But throughout the entire canon of Star Trek, that relationship between those two characters was never really fleshed out. And here, I thought they did a wonderful job of starting to really flesh that out, especially with the two actors. I think they had a nice chemistry and they had a longing for each other. I really appreciated that.
Chemistry with Pike.
For sure.
Yeah, I thought that this gave us some, I guess to your point, a great fleshing out, some closure to his relationship with Minuet. Vina.
Vina.
And I say, I joke, but every time I see this, I am reminded of kind of Minuet and in the Next Generation, and kind of Riker's falling in love with this hologram on the holodeck. But I think this is a storyline of kind of falling in love with the ideal that's actually an illusion that we've seen kind of not only throughout the show, but I think is a theme in our existence of kind of wanting this thing that's not quite real, but makes us feel less lonely and kind of whole. But we can't, ultimately, because it's not real, we can't have it. I thought what they gave us was, one, this idea of, well, let's actually close that and fill it out. But also showing that the hologram actually had feelings, or the illusion, and what that must be like for them too. Like, it felt really whole to me.
Yeah. Well, the thing with her is she's kind of half human and half an illusion, because she is real, but she looks like a Cronenberg.
Right.
Because she got, when their ship crashed, she
got Cronenberg.
She got Cronenberg, and they couldn't put her back together. So the visual is the illusion, but she does exist. And it's Star Trek, so this does end with them having what they couldn't have. They do have their dream, their fantasy come true at the end, which is where this is heading for Pike, which is nice, even though in reality he ends up a paraplegic in a bleep bloop chair, which is sad. I was a little worried before this episode started that we were going to see Pike get hurt and end up in that chair, but I don't think that happens for another 10 years or so.
Yeah.
But I just looked at my notes, and I wrote down at some point, I guess Tyler and Pike it's when they're having their little whiskey moment in the office. And I just put Tyler Pike romance ? And then I said, ooh, pull that collar off.
And Clyde rolls his eyes.
I mean, it's Tyler, so I'm completely over him.
It's not. I think it's just these very beautiful wide shots, and then you get real intimate with the characters. I think it's just it's about that, like you were talking about, this camera movement in this particular episode, because you get to see this vast amount of space, and then you're like, ooh, these characters are so together, and they're talking, and they're getting deep and a little emotional, and we're feeling a lot of things.
But I feel like I'm getting a lot of Tyler, a lot of Pike, and you've got a great cast. Can I get some more Tilly?
Oh, no, there was a distinct lack of Tilly in this.
There's
episode.
She popped out from
my office.
and then she's gone. Come on, man. More Tilly.
We got a lot of pretty wild, unrestrained Tilly at the beginning of this season, so it's okay that she's playing third or fourth or fifth fiddle for an episode or two. I'm fine with that.
There's only 45 minutes per episode.
Yeah.
It's a lot
and you got,
of characters.
16 fucking characters?
Yeah. Kira gets three words, not even a full line, 3 words an episode.
But she got a good line where she was at the end, where it's guys, we got to go rogue. I can't ask you to. Course heading, Captain. I was like, yep, everybody's in.
Course heading, Captain. 3 words. That's what she got.
Yeah.
I mean, hey, she got a SAG card. I'm just saying, more characters.
I also, since we kind of veered in and out of chronological order as we do,
Don't say.
I think we're about the part where the cafeteria throwdown actually happens.
Okay.
And it gave me so much nostalgia for high school movies and
oh yeah.
The scene where everyone's at their little cliques table, and they're like, "Ooh, a fight's gonna happen," and they're and they're just let 'em
record
have
scratch.
it. Yes.
Yeah.
And they're just let them have it, let them do it,
Though I appreciate no one was yelling, fight, fight, fight. And there was no real food throwing. I thought that was pretty good.
We're too evolved for that.
Well, it's the adult version of the cafeteria fight.
We're too evolved for that in 2014.
Though I thought it was going to end quickly when he tried to hit him with that chair. I was like, oh, this is going to be over quick.
That was good. I do like that. I think this episode did such an amazing job of splitting the focus and cutting back between all the different storylines, all the character storylines, a lot more than we've seen recently. Especially last episode. This one did a great job. It's easy to move in and out and talking about all these different storylines, because I think the pacing and the flow here was just pretty good.
Mm-hmm. A couple things that surprised me. One, that Ariam is third or fourth in command.
Right, saw her sitting in the seat.
She was in the chair.
She was in the command chair.
She's been in the chair once before, I think.
Yeah, I was just it was stark to wow, that's a bad idea.
Yeah.
That's
no one else knows it's a bad idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you can corrupt your third in command by using iPhone AirDrop, that's bad. Yeah, you don't want her there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I also I have a note because I know they're starting pre-production maybe, or just starting to cast maybe for the new Picard reboot.
Oh yeah, we have 2 new cast members.
And I'm just wondering if we think she might be our pre-Borg, right? Because and then if that has any kind of link to our Red Angel.
Well, I wanted to ask you guys. We saw Spock's vision of the future given to him by the Red Angel, where the galaxy is attacked and all the Federation planets are pretty much destroyed. And there was this bunch of crazy ships with a bunch of crazy probes blowing up everything. The first thing that popped in my head was like, is this the Borg?
Right.
Well, here's the problem.
It's not the Borg.
It's not. But here's the problem I have with that in this storyline is that I've seen the future, right? I've seen a lot of the future. It doesn't happen.
But this is the future of the future.
I mean...
That's why they keep saying in this timeline.
Yeah,
right.
Well, I mean...
Oh, right. Are they going to jump timelines? Yeah, what's happening?
The only way that this becomes a compelling fear is if they establish that we are now off the prime timeline, right?
It doesn't have to, because with the Picard series, we're going further than we really ever have, save one of the short treks, you know? So maybe the threat is going to continue there. I don't know. They want synergy with these shows.
But I'm just saying, like, I'm not that moved because I know by the time that Spock dies, right, all the planets are still alive. Based on the movies and all that we've seen.
Well, that's the Kelvin timeline because he dies in the Kelvin.
True. Yeah. But even if we think like Voyager, right, they're still alive.
Yeah.
They defeat the Borg.
Yeah.
Like all these things happen. That's the thing that kind of grates on me.
But it's compelling. Aren't you compelled? Like, what are they going to do to make this threat feel real?
I'm curious. I'm not compelled.
All right.
What if all of this is just happening in the other universe?
In what universe?
The
like the Terran universe.
Yeah.
The mirror universe? Oh. I don't want to go back.
Yeah.
I don't want to go back there
where everyone's
right now.
bombing everybody.
I don't want to go back there right now. Do you want to go back to the mirror you? We spent so much time there last season.
I don't want to go back to that universe. But some of those characters had some swag to them. That was kind of nice.
That's true.
A little more confidence.
That's true. Okay.
I had one more question, and you all might know. So there was Spock is he's like, I see the future, and he's on the snowy planet. And then I was like, I feel like I'm getting some timelines and things confused in my brain from J.J. Abrams movies. And then I was like, are we going to get time traveling Spock here? But that's not a part of this official timeline. And so I was a little confused. So I don't know what your thoughts are on that.
I mean, I think it's confusing.
Yeah.
What were you confused? What is the question?
Well, is it going to...
Could you repeat the question?
Yeah, I was like, I can't figure out if on this timeline Spock does time travel.
Yes. Yeah. The Spock that we're seeing here is the prime timeline Spock, but a younger version who ends up being Leonard Nimoy Spock in most of the Star Trek that we see. And that is the same Spock that ends up in the Kelvin universe as an older Spock. So when you see Leonard Nimoy in the J.J. Abrams movies, that's our original Spock. But he crossed over to the Kelvin timeline. Does that help you?
No.
I
need an illustration.
Part of my struggle, we do need a Spock illustration. Part of my struggle, though, is that I'm waiting for Spock to get a lobotomy. Right? And what I mean by that is...
Not remember any of this shit?
Well, so there is the big question that's always out there hanging for me is why he's never mentioned his sister, Michael.
He hasn't mentioned he never mentioned his brother, never mentioned even his father or mother until they showed up. Yeah. So.
But on the other hand, I also look at it and go, I'm getting a lot of emotion off of this Spock. And the Leonard Nimoy version had zero emotion.
Yeah.
It was like Data before the chip. It was. So I'm just trying to figure out, does something happen? So my first thought was when they go in and have to rearrange the logic, does he lose some of his humanistic characteristics? I was kind of looking for that. And that probably would have saved and amped up my my love of this episode had they done that, but they they did. We actually didn't see them do anything.
Not really. Well, I mean, the whole conceit was that he figured that the Talosians were the only ones that could help him because he was the whole thing that he was looking for logic to help him, but it didn't because he was
time has always been my constant.
He was unstuck in time. Yeah.
So
it was
but then I was like, but time is always an illusion. So how is that your constant?
Time is always in flux.
Okay,
moving,
Grant, if you're listening, I'll do it for you. I mean, and when it comes to like Lost, you have to make sure that you have
a constant.
And your constant can be different. And and so maybe he needs, I think Burnham might be right. Burnham might be his constant, brother.
Oh, Burnham's his constant.
I think Burnham is his constant.
Not Penny's boat.
Not Penny.
Okay, so I love this episode. Even though I like I said, if I think about it a little bit, it kind of falls apart. Like, why did Spock get Burnham to take him just so we could have them together? Does it make sense? He could have just gone. I don't know.
I think if she's his constant, then that was part of it. But I also think it's a vehicle for us to hear and finally get some, I'll call it, closure on what happened between them. I think they're. I think you mentioned it. We've got, 6 episodes left?
Yes.
Yeah, I think they're starting to tie up some of these loose ends, and so that we can kind of move the story forward.
Well, I got to tell you, thematically, storytelling-wise, performance-wise, and art direction, cinematography, this is maybe we're seeing the peak of the season right now. This episode was so well constructed. I was blown away. I was really blown away. And just the way, again, that it melded the past with the present or the future was just so just elegant. I loved it.
One thing we haven't talked about is the kind of Stamets, the acting and the portrayal that Anthony Rapp has done in this episode. I think that's actually a really interesting storyline about how he has basically moved everything. Right, literally went into the mycelium network to save him, almost did not leave because he wanted him, brings him out. I mean, you're talking about love that caused someone to bring someone back from the dead. And they're like, yo, I want to live with you.
I'm willing to watch him suffer through it because I just like the meat that they're giving Wilson Cruz to chew on with this new characterization.
So do you think there's a possibility that Wilson Cruz ends up on the Picard spinoff?
The Picard spinoff? No. I think there's a possibility that he ends up maybe in the Section 31 spinoff because I think that's where they're going to throw Tyler. And now we're seeing, Tyler and Wilson Cruz kind of coming closer together.
Everyone with an identity problem goes over there.
Pretty much. Like, we don't fit in. Here's where we fit in. That's been the whole theme here with Section 31. Oh, I don't fit in anywhere else, and these people are trying to do good, I guess, so I'm going to go with them. That seems like where maybe Culber is headed.
I like that idea.
And I don't know if they have a doctor over there.
And Culber can handle himself pretty well. I mean, enough not to get killed by, Tyler. First of all, I thought Tyler was like...
He was holding back.
Yeah, he had to.
He was only defending himself.
He had to really hold back because Tyler / Vought can kill a person.
Yes, for sure. Yeah, that'd be kind of cool if Culber ends up on the Section 31. I want to see him face off with Giorgio.
I like the idea of this adversarial relationship kind of growing, becoming friends, and then them going off together. Like, that would make sense. First, I think it would clear up some of this casting.
It would break for poor little Stannis.
He's going to be okay. He's going to find somebody else. He'll be all right.
Imagine the acting that we'll see.
It'll be good to watch, but it'll be sad.
Here's the thing, because at this point, we don't know much about the Section 31 spinoff, but they need something to get you to watch it. Would Tyler and Culber being on it?
Oh.
I think so.
I think so.
With Philippa,
hell yeah.
Yeah.
Totally.
I mean, I think that's compelling television.
Power.
Yeah, and like, even though Wilson Cruz is listed as a main cast member, like, he's not in every episode. Like, it seems like somebody that they would spin out. They got to get rid of some people. There's so many people.
They got to get rid of a bunch of people. They really have to like split this cast in half.
Yeah, we'll see. Okay, guys, we're going to wrap, but I'm going to come back real quick, and we have a few listener shout-outs and reviews I want to get through real quick. All right, we'll be right back. And we're back. Let's jump into a few listener reviews and just say thank you to everybody. But off mic, you guys just reminded me of one of the best lines of the episode. Anybody want to say it?
Oh, for me? Yeah. Do you really think the beard is working for you?
It was so great. As a person who has a beard, I still laughed pretty hard at that.
I think it looks fucking cool with the beard. I don't know.
I thought he was. I do think he looks
It's
cool.
midlife crisis Spock.
It is.
But he's a young 20-something.
I think the thing
Quarter
that,
life crisis Spock.
Yeah, there you go.
I also think the thing that's interesting about the beard is it's not shaped up, right? Like it's just like it's just like grown, right? And at any moment it's going to be Austenite Spock. Like you have the whole thing.
Yeah,
He's
totally.
ready for South by.
Yeah. No, he's totally like writing reviews for Pitchfork, that guy. Okay, so I want to give a shout out to a really supportive listener we have, Jackie L. So I know Jackie has been having a rough time lately, but she is such a great supportive listener of ours, and I want to give a shout out and thank you for all your support, Jackie. So awesome of you.
Thanks, Jackie.
Yes. Thank you, Jackie. And also we have just a couple reviews that I think are fun. So listener, you can find us at StarTrekPod.com and you can review us on Apple Podcasts. Click on that Apple Podcast link. We would love to get your 5-star reviews. That really helps us out, gives us some social proof that we are a good podcast. So Mikata Torres on Apple Podcasts says, if you love reading comment sections and episode breakdowns, you will love this podcast. Usually I will watch the episode once, listen to this podcast, and I watch the episode again. I take away so much from the podcast that I catch so many more details. I can't help but be a huge fan. 5 stars.
Awesome. I wasn't quite sure where they were going with that.
A little rambling.
I mean, the comment section? Oh,
Yeah.
man.
No, I know. Yeah.
Those are the crazy people.
No.
I know we are. So I guess it works, but at first I was like, oh my goodness, like, do they like us?
In 2019, the words comment section are so triggering for everybody. But she meant it as a good thing. Yeah. All right. And we also have
A monitored comment section.
Yeah.
Yes.
Paula Mayo says, I was looking for a podcast about Discovery, and this one is very enjoyable. Genuine reactions to the episodes, many which mirror universe my own. I would recommend this, especially as After Trek does not appear to have returned. Please note, I am in Ireland, so I'm watching Discovery on Netflix, and therefore do not know if After Trek still exists. It does not.
It does not.
All right, 5 stars.
I thought that review was very enjoyable as well.
All right. And there is one more I want to read. From Lizard, Leezerd, Lizard. The friendly banter between these guys is some of the greatest joy I get out of a podcast. I can easily agree and disagree with their assessments of the episodes, as they give plenty of Trek knowledge-filled answers as to why it may not live up to their expectations, but the love for Trek still comes through. Other podcasts I've heard pander to the writers, but I love how these hosts can discuss and be critical, yet still appreciate the show for what it is. Star Trek. I love how real and honest these hosts are. Thanks, guys. 5 stars. I think that sums us up pretty well, right?
Yeah, I think honest love is really it, right? Like, we're going to be honest, yet I think it's clear that we love it. I'm not watching a show every week, like, on appointment television, and then spending a couple hours talking to you guys about it if I don't really like it. And I don't just mean really like Trek. I got to really like the show.
Yeah.
And so I hope that comes across that we really like it.
Yeah.
We love what they're doing, but we also are going to be honest and take somewhat of a critical perspective on it.
For sure. And I think this episode was just, it really reminded me why I do this podcast, because sometimes Trek can be really inspiring and really blow me away in a lot of ways. So
wow,
I was really happy with this episode. Guys, I liked it.
I think we figured that out, wouldn't you, Mariah? Yeah.
All right. Find me at Mike Moody on Twitter. Clyde, where can people find you?
You can find me at Clyde Haynes on Twitter, or the web address for our website is Key and Clyde, KEIandClyde.com.
And I'm at Mariah Gossett, MYRRIAHGOSSETT on Twitter and Instagram.
You
And
say that a lot, don't you?
It's a weird name. I always have to spell it, yeah.
And we are part of a podcast network, Electric Sweater. Find all of our other podcasts.
Electric Sweater!
There it is. Find all of our other podcasts, TV podcasts at electricsweater.com. And again, visit us at StarTrekPod.com. Live long and prosper.
Peace.